office in Iowa. Seated at a desk littered with seed catalogs and glossy brochures showcasing the latest in farm equipment, he no longer wielded power as a vice president, commanding multiple offices and people numbering in the thousands. Hell, he didn't even have a secretary. What he had was a cubicle in a space shared by 3 other company reps who hated him as much as he did them, and the job. When he was first hired by Megaseed, he hadn't minded starting at the bottom. It was a good way to acquaint himself with how the company operated and its products. However, after 12 months, he hadn't been put on the fast track as promised, and the people at the top were no longer taking his calls or replying to his emails. After bragging to his office mates about being destined for bigger and brighter and leaving them behind to slog through fields of corn, sorghum, and soybeans, the lack of promotion was enraging and embarrassing. Leo was almost 60 years old. At his age, he knew his prospects for climbing into the company's upper echelon were as bleak as the Iowa winter, but he didn't have to like it. He was accustomed to wielding power, and he wanted that again. A beep from his laptop signaled an incoming email. He almost ignored it, but seeing it was from the CEO of his former employer, Salem Oil, he sat up, eyes wide, and read it, then read it again. Salem and Megaseed were partnering on a joint project they wanted him to lead. His prayers had been answered. He quickly scrolled down to the email he'd gotten last night from Big Al Stillwell, a farmer in Henry Adams. 2 years ago, Big Al had been one of the few supporters of the pipeline and had occasionally stayed in touch in hopes the project would be resurrected so he could be paid by Salem and buy back the land he'd lost to foreclosure after Leo left town. Leo hadn't been much interested in Al's updates on the town's goings-on. Now he was. Finding the email, he read that Henry Adams would be electing a new mayor, and according to Stillwell, there were no strong candidates. A kernel of a plan took shape. Leo owned various homes around the country, and one was in Franklin, the town next to Henry Adams. How mad would Bernadine be if he returned and ran for the job? Damn mad, he figured. And his candidacy might even serve as a cover for the assignment he'd been handed. After taking a minute to respond to Big Al's email, Leo picked up his phone and called his old CEO. Chapter 2. As the calendar welcomed October, the residents of Henry Adams basked in the fading warmth of fall. The kids broke out their fleeces and hoodies. Farmers stockpiled wood, cleaned up the now empty corn and soybean fields, put up hay for their animals in anticipation of winter, and stored their combines. Everyone knew by month's end there'd be far colder temperatures and maybe the first flakes of snow, so they enjoyed it while it lasted. On this Saturday, the sun was shining, the temperature in the 50s, and Bernadine Brown, owner of Henry Adams, was behind the wheel of her new truck, Baby 4, on her way to a morning meeting at the power plant where she worked. Like the previous 3 versions, the truck was a cobalt blue Ford F-150, and the chrome was so bright you needed shades. Baby 1 had been destroyed in an arson fire set by Big Al Stillwell's vengeful mother, Odessa, angered by Bernadine's opposition to Salem Oil's proposed pipeline. Baby 2 was totaled a short few weeks later when Odessa ran Bernadine off the road. This past summer, Baby 3 was hauled to the junkyard after being shot up by members of the Russian mafia who'd paid the town an uninvited visit. Bernadine thought the new truck might have needed to be a different color and given another name, but she'd chosen to stay with what she loved. 5 years ago, she purchased Henry Adams off eBay, and for a tiny town on the plains of Kansas, there'd been enough